In her own words, she hit a dead end and her search for justice ended in futility. The Supreme Court today brought to a close Martha Karua's long quest for what she regarded as electoral justice in Kirinyaga County, where she had contested the position of governor. Karua maintains that she did not find justice at the Supreme Court. While she's here, live on Newsnight, she's a former minister, an MP, former MP, and a NAC Kenya party leader. Tonight, we talk to her about her political future and the state of the nation, including war on graft, talk on referendums and Jubilee's development agenda. And of course, we want your feedback on the interview tonight. Send us your comments on Twitter using the hashtag Newsnight and SMS us on the number 22422. Honorable Martha Karua, welcome to the program once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Now, you've exhausted all legal avenues available to overturn the election of Governor Anne Mombi. And you went onto Twitter today and you spoke a little bit about that, and we can have that tweet up on the screen. The tweet says, and I quote, "I did not get justice at the court, but a luta continua. The journey to success is long and winding." Let me take that one more time. "I did not get justice at the court, but a luta continua. The journey to success is long and winding." I said this earlier, you've exhausted the justice system.
Yeah.
How can that not be justice for you?
Because I don't think the verdict looked into the issues. The court struggled to find a technicality.
The court struggled to find a technicality.
In my view, yes. The Supreme Court struggled to find a technicality so that they don't deal with the issues. If they had dealt with the issues, there's no way they would have found any other verdict than to award the prayers that we were requesting.
I know if we had a representative of the court here today, they would see things differently. They would say that in many cases, when I speak here for them as well, because they're not here.
Yes.
In other cases, those technicalities which you say they struggled to find have struck out petitions in very weighty matters as well. What makes your matter different?
What I know is that lawyers discussing the case, jurists discussing the case, will agree that although the decision is binding, it's from the highest court, it is not a decision those who appreciate justice would agree with. When the court says that you cannot be accorded justice because the court itself delayed your case.
The court itself?
Your news analysis here in the evening was wrong. I did not file the petition out of time. The petition was filed within the 28 days required after the election. What happened is that after my first appeal, where I succeeded, I was told to go back for a retrial. It is the retrial the court is saying was outside the 6 months for petitions.
That's correct.
Yet, it is the court that delayed, not me. So the court even said that because I was not at fault, I'm time barred through no fault of my own, they decided not to award costs.
But I went through no fault of your own.
Yes, I went to court not to seek sympathy. And there's another tweet like that. I didn't go to seek sympathy. I went to seek justice. And that's what the court should understand. And
I want to challenge you on this. You spoke about our news. We simply report on what happened at the courts. So for us, it is relying on what the judge...
No, your reporter got it wrong. The judge did not say I filed out of time, which is what you reported. I was at your studio waiting room.
Okay.
So the truth of the matter is that the petition was filed within time. But when it was remitted back for a hearing...
Yes, that's where the issue was.
Yeah, they are saying that the time for hearing, the 6 months, had already elapsed. And I'm saying it is the Supreme Court and that decision is binding for now, but that's a wrong interpretation of
Fair enough, and you're allowed to have your opinion on this, and that's why we've called you here today. But when someone of your caliber, a senior lawyer, a party leader, someone who served in government as well, goes and tweets that cast aspersions on the credibility of the judiciary, on the credibility of the Supreme Court. Like the tweet you posted this evening, for example, you spoke about imperfections of humans.
I think that is totally wrong. I'm very disappointed with your line of questioning. I have freedom of expression.
Fair enough.
My tweet has not disparaged the judiciary at all. My feeling is I didn't get justice. I respect the decision. I don't agree with it. and I cannot agree with injustice. So for me, it is not justice.
For you, it is not justice?
Yes, and I'm allowed to express that with respect.
Okay.
It doesn't mean judges are human. Therefore, they can make a wrong decision. So the system we chose for resolving our disputes is manned by you and me, by human beings. It has its own imperfections. I'm bound by the decision, but I'm free to say, sorry, I don't agree with it. And that's all that I'm saying.
Fair enough. And again, I say this, when someone goes to court, there are the options of you'll either win, the court will rule in your favor, or against you. If everyone who lost a court case in this country went online or went to a public forum, and you have the benefit of speaking to thousands of Kenyans and spoke about, you know, not getting justice, fair enough, but when you go on to talk about imperfections, etc. And you're right, human beings are imperfect beings, but the respect of the court. And I have spoken to 7 legal minds today. Some of them have questioned.
It's the court that erodes its own respect depending on the judgments they give. The perception of the majority. The perception, look at the tweets on my timeline, from other people, not from me. So you see, it is not for me to judge the court. They are being judged by the court of public opinion, but I have an opinion, and I feel I did not get justice.
And you feel that
because if I am locked out of the seat of justice, because the court delayed me, and in this case, also, the court, the Karua court, failed to look after my exhibits, had them stolen. You see?
Okay, that's a very strong allegation to be clear.
They were stolen. In fact, the Court of Appeal, the last Court of Appeal, whose verdict I appealed in the Supreme Court, found as a fact that I had filed those exhibits. So to date, the court has not explained where my exhibits went, where my evidence went. How then do you expect me to say I got justice? How do you expect me to say the Supreme Court has given me justice when issues as serious as theft of evidence from the court or disappearance? Disappearance and theft are the same because somebody removed it. You see?
Yes.
And that evidence is still on the Nyeri appeal file because it had already moved to the appeal file. When stealing it from the Karua court, they didn't think it was somewhere else. So I'm saying, without making this another appeal of my case,
on live TV,
there are very serious issues unresolved, even as the case concluded, because the court avoided those issues and relied on a technicality.
Fair enough, Honorable Karua. Now, you're not the first political player to go to court. The court does not rule in your favor, and you immediately come out and speak about foul play or things not going in that particular order. You seem to some to have fallen into a pattern that many other political players after the 2017 election fell into. How do you respond to those who say that for you it's a case of sour grapes?
No. Anybody who has a legal mind, who will analyze that, not just me, will see the problems. And I hope that this case, because it is an important case for justice in this country, will be reviewed by other jurists and the verdict will be out there. But I want to say without batting an eyelid, I did not get justice, and I'm disappointed by the Supreme Court, because if they had given rulings, if they had given reasoning, even of arriving at the technicality that I'm time barred, if they had analyzed our arguments that the law is always speaking, if they had given authorities, I would have said, their opinion differs with mine, but I can hear what they are saying. I'm not able to say.
Right now, you're not able to say that.
I'm not able to say that.
So, I mean, let's get this. Even if your case went ahead on merit, minus the technicality, it could still have gone either way. Would you then have said that you've gotten justice no matter? You go to court ready to accept the verdict after you exhaust the justice system. Okay? Accepting the verdict doesn't mean believing in it. You see, because our legal system, the legal system we have built, decrees that that's the highest court. The ruling binds me. There's no other case I can file to nullify that election. But I don't have to believe in it. That is your right.
And I'm expressing here that I don't agree with that verdict. I respect it. I don't agree with it. It's the end of the road for litigation to nullify the election. But it's not the end of the road for litigation, mark you. There are several other aspects which do not relate to nullification of elections. And I'm not going to discuss them.
Here. Some would ask, why don't you go to the Judicial Service Commission? If
I am going there.
Oh,
excuse me. That's one of the actions. And I'm not going to elaborate.
Okay.
And the judge in question knows about it. Because there are things that happened that ought not to happen to any litigant in this country. It's not just about me. You see? How many other people are losing their exhibits, losing their land, losing their cases in court, because in court we have cartels aided by litigants who are, you know, making evidence disappear or stealing in that matter. So I am saying that it is the duty of a citizen, and I'm a citizen, to challenge the systems, the imperfections of the system. And anything by a human being has imperfections.
Okay.
And I know that the jury is out. Even in Kirinyaga County, there are many like me who believe that justice has not been done, and there are others who believe it has been done.
So in the next 7, 14, 21 days, we'll see this course of action?
I'm not going to give myself days.
Okay.
But there are complaints. I've even launched with the DCI regarding the stealing of that evidence, which were launched immediately. It was lost in Karua court.
Okay.
And which I hope that the DCI will now act on, because they were waiting for this case to end.
Okay.
You see?
And then finally on this, so you feel that in no way the comments you've made, whether on social media,
my comments
would be attributed as disrespect to the court?
My comments are respectful. I didn't
by them.
I did not get justice. That's a fact. You see, I respect the decision of the court, but I didn't get justice.
Okay. Okay.
And the court was almost apologetic about that, because they are saying, I'm time barred through no fault of my own. What justice is that?
What lessons have you learned from this marathon?
I have learned that the imperfections of our judicial system is something we have to work on.
And these were not clear to you before you went on this journey.
The transformation that we envisaged with the Constitution is something we have to work on. That as professionals, when we are given responsibilities, whether at the court, whether at the studio like this where you are bound to influence people, you must really consider the actions you take. You must take your role seriously.
Fair enough.
And even in the judiciary, we need champions who will not adopt mechanical interpretation of the law.
Let me ask you then this. The other day you were full of praise for the courts. Specifically, Justice Mombingogi's ruling. You even had an exchange with some lawyers,
by the way,
on the same ruling as well.
Yes.
So for some would be confused, because on one hand you praise one side of the court, but on the other hand you say this other side of the court was not fair.
Isn't that human nature? There is a day you do well, there is a day you don't do well. And this is, even the Supreme Court, I actually praised their boldness when they nullified President Uhuru's election. That was really very bold, and that was standing up for the Constitution. Similarly, I will call out when I don't think a decision is fair. The judgment by Justice Mombingogi, which said that when a state officer, whether a governor or anybody else is charged, they should step aside until the case is heard. That, I believe, is the true position in Chapter 6, demanded by Chapter 6, Article 10, and several other articles of the Constitution.
So that decision you support, and my question to you is, what's your interpretation? Because we've heard of state officers saying, listen, that's not right for us. We're elected officers.
My interpretation on all fours is with the interpretation of Judge Mombingogi. By the way, by the time I was arguing with Counsel Ahmed Nasir, I had not read in full Justice Mombingogi's decision. When I read it, I was very surprised that the same arguments I had are the same arguments the judge had. She interpreted the law, and she captured not just the law, but the spirit of the Constitution.
Of the Constitution.
Yeah, we cannot, you know, this Constitution is supposed to help transform this nation. We can't have transformation if we are having business as usual. Okay. And that is the same in electoral justice or in any other matter. The interpretation has to go beyond mechanical interpretation.
You'll allow me to ask this question because it's been posed quite... I've been looking at your timeline on Twitter and people responding to what you had to say. Some would say that when the ruling is in your favor, you applaud.
Only one person said that.
You counted
only one person on my timeline, because I read them, I do my tweets, not somebody else. One single person. I have been a litigation lawyer in those courts. I've won cases for clients. I've lost.
Some even on technicalities.
I have not on on full, but on full hearing, and we have lost others. And sometimes, even when you don't agree, you admire the way they analyze. You see, I lacked that in the decision that was there today. And I came to court ready that at the end of the day, I may not get what I want. And therefore, I'm at peace.
On that particular matter.
But I will still take the steps as a citizen I can take to test and improve our system. Fair
enough. Let me get your thoughts on a state officer who's currently going through, some would say, a challenging period, Governor Waitito. And we've already talked about the Justice Mombi Ngungi and, of course, Chief Magistrate Lawrence Mugambi, who ruled on his particular matter as well. Is he justified, in your view, in doing what he's doing? Where he was told to keep away from the Kiambu office, but he now says, I can operate from any other, maybe sub-county location?
It's a display of impunity, but I don't want to go beyond that because the matter is active in court.
So we leave it at that?
Yeah.
Speaking of impunity, are we on the right track on the war on corruption?
Yes and no.
In what ways?
Yes, because we must applaud the recent arrests. I don't think any government I can remember has taken a serving minister to court. Even when the late Mwiraria was taken to court, that was long after the matter. So this is a bold move. One has to applaud that. Taking of sitting governors to court, a bold move. But the thing we have not done in Kenya, and which makes our war on corruption limp, is the hearing in court. Why cases drag until we forget? NYS 1. We do not know what happened to Kabura's case. We have even forgotten about it. NYS 2 started last year. More than a year has passed. We even do not remember that anymore. Now we have the cases of the minister and CSs who were charged, and we have many other cases in between. We have Kidero's case, which has also been going on for quite a while. Why can't these cases be heard on a day-to-day basis? The judiciary will have to sit and soul search, because a court is in charge of a hearing. You do not have to give adjournment because a lawyer asked for it. Do you also have the same concerns about the DCI and the way they investigate, and the DPP, the way they prepare that case as well? Because that's what the judiciary says. They throw it back and say, listen, if cases have not been well prepared, if witnesses don't show up or other things, what do we do? Then go on with the case and dismiss it. Take action. Yeah. The judiciary cannot adjourn to wait for investigations. Once the case is brought, it needs to go on. It may not go on the same day it is brought. You may give even a month for preparation. But after that, why can't those cases be heard on a day-to-day basis? You see, these are very serious cases. If we are to win the war on corruption, we don't just need Friday arrests. We need arrests, speedy hearing, conclusion. And conclusion can be acquittal or conviction. Okay. Because it's not every case that will end up in a conviction. In your view, is the way the war on corruption being fought, is it dissuading those who want to pilfer, public funds from doing so? Do you feel there are now deterrents? No, until we implement fully the ruling by Justice Mombi Ngungi, where if you are a serving governor, if you are a state officer, you'll not only be out of your office for the duration of the trial, you'll also be on half pay. But when people are charged with either murder or theft, pilferage of public funds, and the next day you are in your office with business as usual, it becomes a big joke. What would dissuade such people from, if indeed they had in the initial place pilfered public funds, what would stop them from getting more as a war chest for the case? For those who say that stepping aside is an admission of guilt, it is falling into the hands of their enemies in counties. It's just moral probity. It's an action of moral probity, knowing that you cannot go to sit in office, intimidate your officers who are witnesses, or get documents to disappear, like in another case in a state corporation I wouldn't name, where the holder of the office was allowed back to the office, and the next thing we knew, documents were disappearing. It is wrong. Even the public policy, in mature democracies, people are shunned by their friends, by their peers, and out of that pressure, they do not wait to be told to step aside. They actually resign.
So when you hear words like political witch hunt, to you, those don't apply?
Prove it in court. I will say this.
Prove it in court.
Yes, and you may get or may not get justice. Even the state is not always getting justice in the courts. And that's why they will say, I will appeal. You see? Because you feel justice of the case has not been served. So saying you didn't get justice is not disrespectful. That's why we appeal in search for justice. And I know I got justice from my first appeal, which found the striking out was wrong. And even today, the Supreme Court opined that cases ought not to be struck out. But they refused to opine on other critical issues, including theft of my
Fair enough. What I want to hear from you, and you actually answered part of this at the very beginning of the program, your next steps.
My next steps. One,
do you have anything substantial that you can tell us?
Let everybody know that when you file a case, it doesn't mean your life has stopped. You get on with your life. So asking me the next steps is like my life was on hold. It wasn't.
But this will shape the decision-making that you will do over the next few months, years?
Whether it has succeeded or not, the decisions that I'll make will be shaped by many events. You see, there are people who are holding office who will be totally incapable of running because they'll have scandalized their chances. They will have squandered their chances. So what I'm saying is this. I leave my options open.
You leave your options
open. I do not
open.
feel any pressure, and I've said so before, even before this case ended.
Yes.
To start announcing, this is what I will do.
Okay.
There is no general election at hand at the moment. Before we come to that, I'm politically active. Down but not out.
Down but not out.
And I can say I'm not done with politics.